What is going on, guys, and welcome. In this video we're going to create three simple navbars. We're going to start with the most basic one, and we're just going to add a transform property over here, so the actual links over here would be spinning. But in general, this is the most basic navbar that is out there. After that, we're going to see how we can actually create a fixed navbar to the top. And again, we're going to add this transform property, but you can see that as I'm scrolling up and down a page, the navbar actually stays all the way to the top fixed. And after that, we're going to create a fixed sidebar that again has a little bit different property over here, transform property. It's pretty much the links are going to be moving from left to right, but still, as I'm scrolling up and down a page, you can see that actually our navbar stays fixed to the side. So let's get to it. Let's fire up our text editors and let's start coding. So how do we create a simple navbar? Now, the first thing we obviously would need to do is actually create a HTML skeleton for the navbar. And you can see that right now I have very basic HTML document that just has a couple of basic tags over here. And the title could be, I don't know, simple navbar, right? Simple navbar. And we're going to be using, again, just HTML5 and CSS3 for creating this simple navbar. So over here, I'm just going to create a simple unordered list. So over here, I'm just going to say that this is going to be unordered list. However, it's going to be sitting within a nav tag. So over here like this. So over here, we're going to create a unordered list over here like this. And we're going to have like, I don't know, let's say like 4 list items, right? So it's going to be a li over here. And then there's going to be a link. And the link href is going to have a hashtag. And over here, we're just going to say that this is going to be home. And then we're going to say that we would want to select the line and just copy this line, let's say like 4 times. And this is going to be a info. And this is going to be about. And this is going to be a, I don't know, survey, something like this. So now that we're done with this, let's actually go ahead and create a style tags within our body. Within our head tags over here like this. And let's just create a simple navbar, right? Let's style the simple navbar. So over here, I'm just going to say that this is going to be a style tags. And the reason for that, I don't want to create a external style sheet because I think it's just going to be a little bit more noticeable what we're doing. And the first thing what I would want to do is actually select all the elements and tell that I would want all the elements to have margin 0 and a padding 0, right? And the reason for that is just it's going to be easier for us to work if we don't have some preset paddings and margins. Now after that, what we would want to do is actually style the unordered list, which is the parent element for list items. So over here we would use the unordered list selector, and the first thing we would want to say is list style and list style type over here like this to be none, because we want to get rid of these annoying little circles on left hand side when we have a unordered list items, right? Then we want to say that line height, let's say we're going to create some, I don't know, 60 pixels, something like this. And the actual height also we're going to set to 60 pixels. And the way we're doing it right now, we're pretty much setting these list items to be exactly in the center of our unordered list. Then we're going to say that we would want a background color, right? So background color, and let's say this is going to be a dark gray, something like this. And you can see the problem right now is that my list items are displayed over here as blocks, right? So I would need to somehow come up with a way so they're actually in line, right? However, before I do that, I'm just going to say over here, text align, this is going to be center. So all my list items are in the center. And now we can go and start styling actually list items. And again, the first thing what we would need to do is actually say display. And we're going to say that this is going to be display inline block. And now I can see how easy it is to actually make them from display block to display inline block. And obviously we would have to use the display property. And over here we can just specifically say what would be the width. I'm going to say like 150 pixels. But you can see because my screen is so small at this point, you can see that they don't line up, right? But as you make a bigger screen, they're actually all lining up really well. So let's just make it a little bit easier. Let's make 100 100 pixels, right? So then they all are sitting here that in our live preview. So when we're working, we can actually see that they're still in line. And after that, what we want to do is actually start styling links over here. And we would want to say that first property we would want to change is actually display and display block. And the reason why we want to change it to display block, because we want to actually, as we're hovering, we just don't want to have a hover only when we're hovering over the text. We would want to hover as we're hovering the whole link, right? Even as I'm hovering left, right, and top, bottom, you can see that it's still working as a hover, right? And the reason for that is because it is display block. And after that, again, we would want a text align, or we would want text align center. And over here, we're going to say the text decoration none is to get rid of these underlines, right? Text decoration, and we're going to say none, right? So that's how we got rid of those underlines. And then we want to say color, and we're going to say color chocolate, something like this. So now you can see that they got a color. Now the reason why I put it over here, text underline center. So let's imagine that you have text align over here, let's say to the right, right? So I write right for the unordered list. So now I can see how all they move to the right. However, if I would get rid of this text align center, you can see how they're all pushed all the way to the right, because they're not aligned actually in the center. They're all aligned for the list items also to the right. So therefore, we're over here writing text align, and we say center, and then they're nicely pushed back. Now, obviously, if I have over here center, then it doesn't really make much sense to write over here center, but I'm just showing you what happens if we have different alignments for our parent element, that it does matter how we're actually working with this child element over here. Well, in this case, descendant. Now, one more thing that I would want to do is actually this transform property. But transform property, I would want to use actually transition property first. So over here, I'm going to say transition, right? And transition property. And here I'm going to say transform. And transform is going to be 1 second. And I'm just going to ease out, right? Ease in, out, right? Ease, and over here in and out, right? So now we're pretty much done with list items. Now let's work with the list items when we're hovering, right? So it's going to be list item, and here over here we're just going to say that as we're hovering. So we're going to write a pseudo class hover. So now when we're going to be actually hovering over our links, then we're going to be changing the value. So over here I'm going to write transform, and I'm going to say rotate, and this is going to be 360 degrees. So now this is when we're actually, as we're hovering, you can see over here what's happening, right? That they're actually spinning 360 degrees. Now, a couple of more things that we can add as we're hovering. We can say that this is going to have a border, and the border is going to be 2 pixels solid black over here like this. And after that, it's going to be border radius, border radius, border radius. You can see that I'm struggling just to write a simple thing. Border radius is going to be 5 pixels. So here we go. Now we have a nice border radius as we're actually hovering over, and our list items are actually spinning, right? So you can see how easy it was actually to create a very basic navbar that has these little tiny CSS properties. So how do we create a top fixed navbar? So again, you can see that we have a very simple HTML file over here, and obviously again the first thing we would need to do is actually create a HTML structure for our top fixed navbar. So over here I'm just going to create a nav element over here, and then again I'm just going to create a unordered list, and within that unordered list I'm just going to create a couple of list items, and I'm going to say that they're going to have a anchor tag over here like this, and I'm just going to say that they were going to have a, let's say that over here I'm just going to have a home, and after that I'm just going to copy this a couple of times. I'm going to say copy it like, let's say 4 times. I'm going to save this, and now I can see what I have, right? So I have like 4 list items that have home, right? Here again we're just going to write about, And over here, we're just going to say that this is going to be a survey, something like that. And this is going to be a drop down, right? I mean, you can create whatever names you would want. And obviously over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a actual, let's say, a document that would be underneath. So here, I'm just going to say div, and it's going to have a class, and I'm just going to give it a class of box. And over here, I'm just going to have a heading 1. And I'm just going to repeat it multiple times with hello world, right? So I'm just going to copy this and just many times, right? So this is what we have right now. Now, obviously, we would need to create a CSS to actually style it, right? So over here, again, we go to our head tags over here like this. And we're going to create a style tags over here. And we're just going to start styling. And the first thing that we want to do is actually again, style all the elements to have margins and padding 0. So I'm going to say margin 0, and I'm going to say padding 0. So now you can see that right away they all moved again to the left and to the top. And this really helps us that we don't need to worry about some default paddings and margins. And after that, we're going to start working with our unordered list. And I'm going to say that I would want my unordered list to actually have a width to be like 100% or here like this. And I would want it to be already to the top and left, right? Top, over here, I'm going to say 0. And over here, I'm going to say left to be 0. And the reason why I'm writing these dimensions over here, because if we would want to be this on our list to be all the way on the top as we're scrolling up and down, actually we would need to have a property position to be fixed over here like this. So now you can see what's happening, that as we're scrolling up and down, right, we just don't have many hello worlds. So let me just create a couple of more so we can scroll a little bit down. So you can see over here what's happening, right? So it's kind of in the background as we're scrolling up and down. It's actually sitting here on the top. Now we haven't given any background color or nothing, that's why we cannot see it, but we're going to do that actually right this second. So we continue over here with this styling of a unordered list, and what we're saying is that we would want a list style type to be none over here like this, and then we're going to say that this is going to be height of 60 pixels, and we're going to say that a line height also is going to be 60 pixels because we want them to be all equal. And after that, we're going to say that background color is going to be gray, right? So we're going to go with background color to be like dark gray or here like this. Now, again, my list items are not in line, therefore you can only see this right now, right? But you can see already what's happening. We have over here this unordered list, and as we are actually scrolling up and down, you can see that this background color actually stays. After we have added a background color dark gray, let's add a text align center over here. And again, you can see what's happening right now on the right hand side. And now let's jump to the list items. So over here, we're going to say again that we would want to display to be inline block over here like this. So we have inline block. So now you can see right away how all my list items turn into the inline block, and now you can see that pretty much I have already my navbar, but over here I'm just going to say that I would want a width to be, let's say, like 150 pixels, something like this, or maybe, you know what, again, let's make it smaller so it all fits in one page, in the smaller page that we're working right now. So now you can see what's happening. We have already these list items. And after that, let's start styling again a anchor tags, right? Our links. So here we write a ULLIIA, and here we're going to say that we would want to be, again, to be display block. And the reason for that is if we don't have it in display inline block, you can see we can only click it as we're hovering over the text, right? But if we write display inline block, now you can see that even if I'm just hovering over here, you can see it's already treating it as a block, right? As a link, I'm sorry. Now over here, we're going to say again the text align to be center. Now after that, we would want to get rid of these underlines. So we're going to say text decoration to be none And after that, we're going to say that we would want a color probably to be chocolate, right? Color chocolate. Next thing that we want to do is actually make them rotate as we're hovering over them. So what I'm going to say is that I would want to add a transition property over here. And I'm going to say that this is going to be transform. And transform is going to be 1 second over here. And again, we're going to use ease in and out over here like this. Now, after that, we actually want to do the hovering property over here. So I'm going to say li over here, a hover. So as I'm hovering over the link, I would want to be actually spinning, right? So over here, I'm going to say transform. And I'm going to say that this is going to be rotate. So now pretty much I'm writing what kind of transformation I would want to have. So here I'm just going to 360 degrees. And I'm just going to close it out. And I'm going to say that border also by hovering I would want. So I'm just going to say border is going to be 2 pixels solid black over here. 2 pixels solid black. And after that, what I'm going to say is border radius 5 pixels. So it's going to be border or here radius 5 pixels. So if we go back over here and check it out, you can see what's happening, right? So now we have the spinning property, and also as we're going up and down, it's actually staying fixed on the top, right? However, let's just add a couple of neat things about the box so it looks a little bit more realistic. So what I'm going to say over here, I'm just going to say that I want to select this div, this box div that we created, and I would want to say that it should have a width of 100% over here like this. Then it should have a text align, let's say center. And after that, we're going to say that background color, we're going to change a background color, and we're going to say that this is going to be this almond one over here like this. And after that, we're going to say that we would want a margin on the top to be actually 60 pixels. And the reason why it's 60 pixels, because that's the height of our navbar, right? So now I can see how nicely I pushed them up, push the navbar up or push the div down, and you can say whatever you want. I mean, margin top is 60 pixels, and that therefore now we have a nice space over here, right? So therefore we can work it really nicely with this navbar. And this is how we can actually create a very easy fixed top navbar. So how do we create a fixed sidebar? In this case, it's going to be on the left-hand side. Now, again, you can see that we're sitting in HTML file over here, and we can see that we haven't done any particularly special tags. The only thing we're going to add maybe a title. We're going to say a fixed sidebar, something like this, sidebar. And over here, we're going to start obviously adding our HTML skeleton, right? And as always, we're going to start with a nav tags over here like this. I'm going to say that we're going to be placing our unordered list within a nav tag. And over here, we're going to create a unordered list. And here it's going to be a list item with a link over here. And it's going to be a href attribute that has a hashtag as a value. And over here, we're just going to say that this is going to be home. Then I'm going to select the whole line, and I'm just going to copy this like 4 times again. And here I'm going to say about, and this is going to be info. And this is going to be, I don't know, survey, something like this. So now we have 4 list items. Now let's keep going, and let's add actually again a div. And we're going to again call it a div and give it a class of box. And over here, we're just going to say that within this div, again, there's going to be a heading 1, and it's going to say hello world, right? And again, we're just going to select the whole line, and we're just going to copy it multiple times. So then when we're scrolling up and down the page, we actually can see how this navbar over here is fixed to the side. Now I just need to grab this div over here, this closing tag, and actually press cut and paste it all the way in the bottom. So now all my H1s are sitting actually within this div, and I'm actually ready to go ahead and actually start styling over here. So I created over here these style tags, and I'm obviously going to start setting the rules. And the first rule that I would want is to select all the elements, and say that I would want them to have margin 0 and padding 0, right? This would be the first thing. Now after that, I'm going to start styling a unordered list, and what I would want to do is actually set first a width and a height and all that. So I'm just going to say over here a unordered list, and you can see that I made a wrong brackets over here, so I'm just going to create a curly brackets, and I'm going to say list style type over here, list style type, and this is going to be none. And after that, what we're going to say is that we would want to have a set width to be 30%, and then we would want a position to be fixed over here like this. And after that, we would want a height to be 100%. And over here, now you can see that what's happening, right? It's sitting all the way on the left hand side on the top, and as we're scrolling up and down, it is fixed, right? However, we would need to set a rules for this box over here, right? For this div that has actually all the H1 headings. So over here, I'm going to write a rule, and I'm going to say that I would want this box to be floated right over here like this, and I would want this to be a width of, let's say, I don't know, like 70%, since I'm setting that one to 30%. And after that, I would want my height to be, let's say, to 1600 pixels, something like this. Because you can see over here, if I set the height to be 100%, I would need to set the height over here for this div, right? So now you can see that we're slowly but surely we're actually getting there. And the last thing that I would want to do is actually margin left. I'd want to be like something like 30%, right? Because if we're setting this one to the left hand side to be set 30%, we would obviously want this margin to be 30%. And after that, what we're going to say is we would want a text align center, and we're just going to give it some background color, right? Again, so we're going to say background color over here like this, and we're going to say that this is going to be like this almond one, right? So now you can see that we have set up the div, but we just need to make this unordered list a little bit nicer, right? So let's go back and maybe add a couple of more properties over here to this unordered list. So first of all, we're just going to say that this is going to have a line height of, like, let's say 60 pixels. So line height 60 pixels. Then we're just going to say that it's going to have a background color over here of dark gray. And now you can see how it's spanning all the way to the bottom, right? So that's the point of this, adding this height over here of 100%. Because if we have the set height over here of 1600 pixels, then it's obviously this color is going to be spanning all the way to the bottom. Now, actually, we can go ahead and style the list items. And we're going to say that over here, list items over here like this. And we're just going to say that we would want them to have a display block over here like this. And we're going to say that we would want a width to be 100%. And when we say 100%, we actually mean this 100% within this 30% over here. So we would want our list items to be spanning all the way across. Now, after that, let's go ahead and actually style a links over here. So I'm just going to say links. And I'm going to say that I would want them to be display block again, because I want to click them anywhere, not just on the text. And then I would want to say text align center. So I move them nicely to the center. And after that, I would just say the text decoration would be none. None over here. And after that, we're going to say we're going to add it a color, right? I'm going to say color, and color is going to be chocolate. Now, what also we would want to do is actually have this transformation property, right? That actually our links are moving, let's say, from left to right, right? So here we're just going to write a transition over here like this, and we're going to say that this is going to be transform over here like this, and we're just going to say that this is going to be 1 second ease in out, right? Something like this. So now let's go ahead and let's actually set the property when we're actually hovering over, right? So we say a pseudo class over here of hover, and we just set a couple of rules, right? So the first one is going to be transform. So this is we're actually saying what type of transformation it should be. And instead of spinning 360 degrees, we're just going to say that we would want to translate 30%, right? 30 over here like this, 30. And we would set 0 over here. So then what happens is you can see that as I'm hovering over, you can see how they're spinning from left to right. But just to make it a little bit more interesting, what we can do is actually set a border, 2 pixels solid black over here like this. And now we also can have a border radius over here like this, radius, and to be like, I don't know, 5 pixels. So what happens is as I'm hovering over, you can see that I have this nice border and they're going from left to right. And also the whole point of this video was to show you that this navbar is staying fixed as I'm going, scrolling up and down the page. So now you can see how easy it is actually to make all this.